Welcome to the TCAT Paying for College presentation. This presentation is geared toward the class of 21. However, there will be some information in here that other classes can take and learn from it. Here is a list of financial aid terms you might hear in this process. COA, or cost of attendance, it is what it is, how much it costs to attend a particular institution. EFC, expected family contribution, is the number that is derived from the FAFSA. Now just keep in mind this simple fact about the EFC. The lower the EFC number, the better chance of receiving need-based money. The FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. The two things I want you to keep in mind with this is one, that it is free, and this is the main application for federal and state money. The FSA ID is the username and password created by the student and at least one parent to log into the FAFSA with the student FSA ID, pull tax information from the IRS using the student and parent FSA ID, and then signing off on the FAFSA using the student and parent FSA ID. Once you submit your FAFSA, you'll receive an email saying that your student aid report, or SAR, is ready to view. This will have all information that you've put into the FAFSA and also tell you that if you have any errors. When you think about financial aid, think of grants, loans, and scholarships. All three are financial aid. Grants, free money based upon need, and this is where the EFC comes to play. So just remember, the lower the EFC, the better chance of receiving need-based money. Loans is money that you borrow that you have to pay back. Just keep in mind that when you complete the FAFSA, you will be offered a loan. You do not have to accept it. You can accept part of it, or you can accept all of it. I will use the loans as a last resort. It's there just in case you don't have enough money to cover the remaining cost of your attendance. Scholarships are free money based upon merit, skill, or unique characteristics. So you have merit-based scholarships based upon ACT score, SAT score, and GPA. You have skill scholarships based upon your skill. If you're an athlete, artist, musician, actor, actress, have joined clubs and organizations, showed leadership in those organizations, volunteer work, church work, ROTC, and other activities. And then you have unique characteristic scholarships based upon your ethnicity, your height, your hair color, any ailments you might have, such as asthma, allergies, ADHD, and other conditions. Then there's verification. Verification is an audit of your FAFSA. About a third of every FAFSA that is completed will be selected for verification. It's not like an audit, like a tax audit. All you do is give the financial aid office the documents that they ask for, nothing more, nothing less, and the verification process should be fairly simple to go through. Then you have the work-study program, where it's money received from on-campus employment. This is a need-based program, so the lower EFCs will be offered first, but as they decline it, it goes to the next person in line. So there's a question on the FAFSA. They'll ask, are you interested in the work-study program? Mark yes. Even though you might be thinking, hey, I do not want to work when I go to college, you're filling out the FAFSA a year in advance, things could change. If you say no now, you'll never have that option. But if you say yes now, and you happen to be offered the work-study program, and you still feel this way that you don't want to work, you can always decline it. So it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. Here's a checklist of things you might want to be doing throughout your senior year. Of course, you want to take or retake your ACT, not just for admissions purposes, but also scholarship purposes. You want to apply to several colleges, anywhere from 3 to 5, and utilize their net price calculator. The net price calculator will give you a better idea of how much it will cost you to attend that particular institution. You would also want to complete your Tennessee Promise application. For those of you that are planning to go to a community college or Tennessee College of Applied Technology, this is a no-brainer. This will give you the guaranteed position that your tuition will be covered. Those of you who are going to a four-year institution or maybe even going out of state, if something happens, this will be a great backup. Just ask the class of 2020 dealing with the pandemic. And then you want to complete the 2021-2022 FAFSA. It's available October 1st. You want to get this in as soon as possible. This is the main application, like I said, for federal and state money, and institutions will require it. There's other scholarships you can apply for during the fall, but your local and private scholarships that you have coming in from local organizations will come in through the spring. Organizations like the Rotary Club, the Lions Club, stores, banks, churches, organizations like that typically open up in the spring. And then also in the spring, you want to review your acceptance letters, your financial aid award letters, compare and contrast them, ask questions about them, like how do you receive it, what do you need to do to maintain it, what is it paying for, questions like that. And if there's other questions you have, please follow up with as needed, because students, this is your aid. The FAFSA stands for the Free Application for Federal Student Aid, not parent aid. So it's your responsibility to know what you're getting and why you're getting it and what it's paying for. Speaking of FAFSA, class of 21, you'll be completing the 2021-22 FAFSA this year. It's available once again October 1st. There's two areas you can complete the FAFSA. You can actually go to FAFSA.gov, or you can use the mobile app, My Student Aid. This is for both Android and Apple devices. You can go to their stores to download it. And just keep in mind that this year you'll be using 2019 tax information. Now the FAFSA, we have broken into two steps. First step is creating your FSA ID. This is where the student and parent will create their username and password. And remember, the FSA ID is the student login to the FAFSA application. You can use the FSA ID to pull your tax information from the IRS into the FAFSA using the data retrieval tool. And this is how the student and parent will sign their FAFSA electronically. The next step is actually filling the FAFSA application. We've broken it down to three sections. You have the student demographic information section, the parent demographic and financial information sections, and then the student financial information section. Once those three sections are completed, your FAFSA is done. Now, to complete the FAFSA, you need a few items. First, you need the student's social security number. You need the parent's social security number. Now, however, if the parent does not have a social security number, you can enter all zeros as their social security number. Also, if they don't have a social security number, the parent will not be able to create the FSA ID. That parent will have to type in their tax information into the FAFSA, and then when it's time to sign their FAFSA, they will need to print off a signature page, physically sign the signature page, and mail that page to the address printed on the signature page. The student will also need their driver's license number if they have one. You'll need your 2019 tax information for the student and parent, records of your untaxed income such as child support, and your checking and savings account balances along with money market accounts, CDs, and stocks, bonds, and etc. One thing you won't need is your balance for your retirement or the value of your primary domicile. Now you will need information about other properties like another land, a second home, things like that, but your primary domicile nor your retirement is needed for the FAFSA. Now, to determine if you need to provide parental information, if you can answer yes to any one of these questions, you will not need parental information. If you mark no to all these questions, you will need to provide parental information. Now, if you happen to mark yes to any one of these questions, you will eventually have to provide proof of your situation. The common one that we see most often is the legal guardianship. Keep in mind, guardianship and custody are two different things. So if you're under custody, you still would not mark that you're under legal guardianship. But if you're under legal guardianship, you'll mark yes. And then eventually the college will ask for documentation. All you have to do is provide a copy of the court document stating that you're under legal guardianship. Keep in mind that you have to complete the FAFSA every year that you're in college. It's not just a one and done thing. So if that's 1 year, 2 years, 4 years, and unfortunately like myself, 7 years, you have to complete it every year. Now, the reason why you have to complete the FAFSA is because it is the application for the Hope Scholarship and Tennessee Promise, among other programs for the state. It is the application for the loan program. Granted, you're using the loan as a last resort, but it is the application, so it's there just in case you need it. And then institutions require it, even because of their own aid that they offer. Now, we're going to show you what federal and state opportunities you have at these different colleges through the state of Tennessee. First, you have the Tennessee Colleges of Applied Technology, or TCATs. There's 27 main campuses across the state, along with their satellite campuses. This is where you can receive your certificate and diploma programs. These are the hands-on schools. At the TCAT, when you complete your FAFSA, you're eligible for the federal Pell Grant, the state grant, which is called the TCAT, the Water Navy Technical Skills Grant, and the Tennessee Promise. With the Pell Grant, your EFC can be no higher than $57.11. The maximum amount of money that you'll be able to receive for having a 0 EFC for the federal Pell Grant is $21.15 per trimester. For the state grant, your EFC can be no higher than $3,500. No matter where your EFC lands in that ranking, you will receive $333 per trimester. For the Water Navy Technical Skills Grant, it does not have an EFC requirement. You just have to complete the FAFSA and enroll in a TCAT. And then you will receive $667 per trimester. And then Tennessee Promise is a last dollar scholarship to offset the tuition after those 3 programs of the Pell Grant, State Grant, and the Water Navy. If those 3 programs don't cover tuition, Tennessee Promise will kick in and cover the balance for tuition. If those 3 programs do cover tuition, Promise won't kick in at all. Next, you have your community colleges. There's 13 community colleges across the state of Tennessee, along with their satellite campuses. And this is where students can receive a certificate and associate degree programs. Similar to the TCATs, you have the Pell Grant and State Grant and the Tennessee Promise. But now you have a merit-based program called the Hope Scholarship. With the Pell Grant, if you have a 0 FC, which you get per semester is $31.72. With the TCAT, with your per semester value is $650. With the Hope Scholarship, to qualify for that one, you have to have a 21 ACT score or a 3.0 GPA, and that will give you $1,500 per semester. And then once again, the Promise is the last dollar toward tuition. The way the Tennessee Promise works is a checklist. It's not a requirement of a GPA or ACT or SAT score, or even income or EFC requirement. The student just has to complete the checklist. First part of the checklist is complete the Tennessee Promise application by November 2nd, and you can find that application at tnpromise.gov. You got to complete the FAFSA at fafsa.gov by February 1st, and that FAFSA once again opens up October 1st. You have to attend a mandatory meeting as coordinated by your partnering organization, and either that partner organization will be either Tennessee Achieves or the Ayers Foundation. And then you have to complete 8 hours of community service between November 3rd and July 1st. If you complete all these steps, you are now Tennessee Promise eligible. The way Tennessee Promise works, once again, it's a last dollar scholarship after either Hope, Pell, and TSAA at the community college or Water Navy, Pell, and TSAA at the TCAT. The example on the screen will show you how this works at a community college. If student A has $3,250 in Hope, Pell, and TSAA, but the tuition is $2,250, that means Hope, Pell, and TSAA fully covers their tuition, so there's not a gap, and Promises have to kick in to cover anything. Student B is getting $1,500 from the Hope Scholarship. That means there's a $750 gap left from tuition. Promise covers that gap, and that student doesn't pay anything for tuition. Student C is not getting anything out of those three programs. Therefore, Promise will cover the full balance of tuition. So just keep in mind, no matter what your situation, if you decide to go to a TCAT or community college here in Tennessee, and you complete the Tennessee Promise application process, you will not have to worry about tuition. Your tuition will be covered. Now let's go to the four-year public and privates. There's 10 public institutions across the state along with their satellite campus, and there's a ton of private institutions along with their satellite campuses. At the four-year public and private, this is where you receive your bachelor's degree. You also can receive the Pell Grant, the state grant, and the Hope Scholarship there. Pell Grant amount stays the same. The max amount stays the same at $31.72. With the TCAT, at the four-year public, you'll receive $1,000 per semester. At the four-year private, you'll receive $2,000 per semester. And then the Hope Scholarship, the requirements are the same, but the amounts change a little. If you're classified as a freshman or sophomore, you'll receive $1,750 per semester. When you're classified as a junior or senior, you receive $2,250 per semester. It's based upon classification, not how many years you're at the institution. There's also supplements to the Hope Scholarship. You have the General Assembly Merit Scholarship, called GAMS. You need to have a 29 ACT score and a 3.75 GPA. This will give you an additional $500 on top of the Hope Scholarship. And then you have the Aspire Award, where your parents' adjusted gross income has to be $36,000 or less. And this will either give you $250 per semester at a community college or $750 at a four-year institution per semester. Now, unfortunately, if you happen to qualify for both, you only get one, and you end up receiving the one that gives you the most amount at the institution. For example, if you decide to go to a four-year institution and you qualify for both the GAMS and Aspire, you will receive the $750. If you go to a community college and you qualify for both GAMS and Aspire, you'll get the $500 of GAMS. Now keep in mind, with all of our programs and their GPAs, we look at an unweighted GPA. If you have questions about what your unweighted GPA is, please talk to your counselor. Now, here's an example of a student going to an in-state four-year public institution. Tuition might be $5,000 per semester, housing maybe $4,500, books and supplies $750, so your estimated cost might be $10,250 per semester. If you're Hope eligible, that will give you $1,750 and you're classified as a freshman or sophomore. That means your balance owed is about $8,500. It's important to cover that cost with maybe other scholarships that come through your counselor's office, any research you do online about other scholarships, and hopefully that you're eligible for the federal Pell Grant or maybe some other money as well, and that will help cover that balance. If you decide to go out of state, the only money out of the federal and state money that you can receive is federal money. State of Tennessee money does not cross the borders. So if you're Pell eligible, this is what you'll be able to receive. The rest of the money that we've talked before are all state funding money. Therefore, you wouldn't be eligible for it if you decide to go out of state. If you do go out of state, just keep in mind your cost might be a little bit more. Remember, you do not receive any money coming from the state. You possibly could be still Pell Grant eligible, and hopefully that you are, or you have some other money coming from the institution or any other private scholarships out there, and that will help cover your costs. If you're considering taking dual enrollment classes, please talk to your counselor. There are some good options out there to help you pay for your dual enrollment classes through the dual enrollment grant. Just keep in mind that there's 10 grants out there that you can receive from us, and grants 5 through 10 are subject to a one-time Hope reduction. The application for this fall deadline has already passed, but if you're thinking about going and taking dual enrollment classes this spring, the deadline is February 1st. You can fill out that application at tn.gov/TSAC student portal. And parents, if you're thinking about going to college, maybe never have gone or need to complete your associate's degree, or maybe want to switch to a technical field, consider Reconnect. TN Reconnect is promised for adults. This is also only has a checklist, so you have to complete the Reconnect application. You have to apply to a community college, TCAT, or eligible Tennessee Reconnect institution, submit your FAFSA, and then enroll into a certificate or degree program at least part-time or 6 hours or more. If you do that, you'll be Tennessee Reconnect eligible. But for more information, please contact your institution. This is the Outreach Division, and this is all 8 of us. We cover the whole state. So if you see your outreach specialist or staff, feel free to take their number down and contact them. Or you can take mine. My name is Eric Farmer. I'm in Region 5. We're also on social media on Facebook and Twitter. Please follow us at TN Promise. We do appreciate your time, and thank you.